They do what he does, good people, and we back at it again. And we're just gonna continue where we left off, and which is the second last topic of our mentorship, this brief mentorship I'm sharing with you guys, which is entries. Guys, you could do everything I taught you. Like you could literally master it, know it from the back of your head. But if you don't execute, mm, it's just information. It's just information, and you won't really get good at trading by just accumulating too much information. You get good at trading by executing, entering those trades, clicking that buy and sell button so that you see it yourself. I always say it, trading is a mental game in a way. As much as someone can teach you, you always have problems if you don't execute by yourself because you need to prove to yourself that whatever you're doing works, especially if you back test. That's where you train your mind in back testing sessions, whereby if you backtest, you know that I've backtested this, it works and it's executable. It eases your mind. So the reason you're always having like fear of entering, fear of losing money, over trading, over leveraging is because you don't trust yourself and you don't trust your strategy. And it goes back to not you really not trusting yourself. It's just how the mind works, right? With everything, even with discipline in life, other realms of discipline, your mind needs to prove to itself that it's capable of doing that. Right? Once your mind proves to itself it's capable of doing it, it trusts easy. I learned that the hard way because I used to like I was I've been trading for like 7 to 8 years now, and my first 5 years were not profitable, right? And with me saying that my first 5 years were not profitable doesn't mean it took me that long to learn trading. Within 2 years, I understood everything there was with trading. But I always had that mindset that I don't need to backtest. I understand it. I just need to execute, right? But every time I do mistakes, I'd either enter wrong, look for to overtrade, look to make back the money I lost. It's because although I knew what I was doing, my mind didn't believe in what I was doing because I never proved to my mind that what I was doing actually works, even on losing days, right? So the only way to stop that is by back testing and live trading, like forward testing. We call that forward testing, executing the trade. So I started, and that's why I always advise start small, get used to it. And it's not to say, no, you must get used to small amount first. You must, no, it's to train your mind. That's the first, especially after understanding everything. That's the first phase of training. Train your mind. No, I know myself. I can do. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. I know myself. I can do this. If I tell my no, train your mind, right? Same thing with everything. Like I say, in everything in life. If same with gymming. First few weeks, if you like new to it, you won't believe how long will it take me to get there. Look at that guy. He's buff. Look at that guy. It's gonna take me time. And obviously, your mind will be like, phew. I don't think you can do it. You haven't done it before. Even if you want to, you're gonna have doubts, and that's part of the journey with everything in life, right? Discipline, how to utilize money. Because I had also my biggest problem was money spending. I didn't know how to utilize money for the longest time until I proved to myself that I can do it. And it was not to say I don't know how to budget because I'd plan up my budget every month. I'd open up like I need to do one, two, three, do one, two, three, pay my rent, pay my car, pay my bills, do this, right? But when the month end comes and I have the cash, I just do what I want. It's because I don't trust or believe on the system I've created because I haven't tested it. Same with trading. Forward test and back test to prove it to your mind that you can do it. And then trust me, everything will just fall into place. So without further ado, let's go into entries. Whew, I took some time there. I don't know why I took that. Sometimes I get carried away. Apologies, guys. But without further ado, entries. Entries is very, very important, right? Like I said, back to the time frames. You must align your time frames properly. I scalp a lot. So 15, not really scalping, you call it scalping intraday trading in between day. So I use a 15 minute as my higher time frame, and my entry is my 1 minute. So every time I get a POI, so I'm just going to make an example of today's trades, right? This is today's date, and look, the market is pushing up. Something I've been like showing you, the market reacts from these zones. So we had a fair value gap here. We had a break of structure. No need for me to explain price action because you see we've been breaking structure from here, which means we're in an uptrend, right? So I just need to mark what's the second thing, marking my POIs and my supply zone. And look here, we broke first, and then the market came into the zone, right, which is this zone here, right? And this is my 15 minute, right? Let me just move my, I'm not gonna start off fresh. I'm just gonna move my timing to mark my timings. Same thing I explained on the previous video about timings. I'm just gonna delete yesterday's ones. Yeah. So Asia, we accumulated. We know we're looking for trades in the manipulation and the distribution zone. So these two phases is where we'll be looking. So I could still look for entries here even after this move has happened, right? So we came back into the zone. This is where I'll go into my 1 minute. My 1 minute, I'm looking for confirmations. Wait, guys, before we dive into this thing, I'm looking for confirmations, right? 1 minute is for entry. And once you see it, once price is in your POI, once price is in your zone, remember it's a waiting game. I'm gonna repeat this as much as I can. It's a waiting game. If price pushes up, breaks your structure and to the upside, and you're looking for buys, it doesn't mean you should buy here. You must look at your zones. This is where I'm gonna look to react. Just an example here. And if your zones prices move and it still doesn't tap your zone, you don't do anything. But as soon as it gets into your zone, sometimes here's the thing, sometimes price can enter your zones like this as quickly as this. It can just let me just do this. Price can just break. Sorry, man. Can just break and then come back same time, like what it did on that example I'm gonna give now. But sometimes it can just break and play around a bit, break and play around a bit, and then boom, come back to your zone. So it's a waiting game. Sometimes it happens quick or sometimes it happens slower, and sometimes it invalidate and go to the second one, right? So it's a waiting game. So where was I again? As I was saying, confirmation, right? So now you first need to wait for a price to come into your POIs, your zone, either your fair value gap or your supply and demand zone. Then from there, you're gonna start looking for your confirmations, which I'm gonna list here. So there's the two ways me I look for confirmation in this smaller time frame: price action and patterns, right? You could either or price pattern or action. You don't need to spot each and every one of them. Right. So let's say price is coming. I'm just gonna draw a box as a zone. Let's say price is coming to my zone. The prices we just broke structure. Let's say we just broke structure. Yeah. Let's make it black. So we just broke structure. So we just broke structure here and we're pushing to the upside. And I've pointed my zone. I'm like, okay, here's a fair value gap. I wanna buy because we are buying. Here's a fair value gap. I'm gonna wait for price to come back into my zone. Right. The first thing I want to see as it's coming to my zone, I want to see breaking structure to the downside, meaning coming back, breaking structure to the downside. We call this internal pure price action, but don't pay attention to it. It's something also deep dive on into our mentorship because it's coming back to my zone in a downtrend, right? Because it doesn't come back to your zone going up. It has to come back in your zone in a downtrend. And once it gets to my zone, I want to see change character to the upside. What does it mean? I explain change of character. If price is breaking structure to the downside, if prices just keeps on going like this to the downside, breaking structures to the downside, like this in this instance, it means it's in a downtrend, right? But in this instant, on a smaller time frame, it's um 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 internal price action. It does not entail the bigger move, which is what we've analyzed on a higher time frame. That's why you need a smaller time frame for entry and a bigger time frame for a trend and basically your POIs and stuff like that. So once it gets here, I want to see price break structure to the upside, not the downside. As long as it's still moving to the downside, breaking structure to the downside, I'm not entering because it means it's gonna invalidate this zone and either go to my second zone if there's any, or change character and just completely continue going downside. But the moment it, the moment it changes character and focuses on the highs instead of the lows as it was coming down to my zone, and breaks a high, for me, it's a sign that, okay, we've broken this high and I'm gonna enter from there. Then you can enter until the high and all those things. The second confirmation is patterns. So what I'd also want to, okay, let's make an example of this one first, right? Okay, no, wait, let me just do the patterns example, then we can like, the second one is patterns. So patterns, let's say if same thing, price is coming down, breaking structure to my zone, right? Especially the head and shoulders pattern, it's a very powerful pattern on Nasdaq. That one is more guaranteed. Not really guaranteed, but the head and shoulder pattern with this whole thing I'm teaching you guys is very powerful. So let's say now, where's this tools? Price, start from fresh. Let's say price comes to our POI, right? Boom, it touches the first time in our POI. I'm not gonna trade it. I'm gonna wait, plays around, touches the third time in our POI, and then plays around, and then touches the second time, and then the third time it touches and then does this. I have a head and shoulder pattern, right? Patterns, I can't really deep dive into them because it's something that's blatantly out there. You can just go to YouTube and get your pattern sheet. You can even go, let me just see if I can, um, pattern sheet trading, something like this. See, you can just go to images and here's a perfect one here. See, it's not something I can teach. It's out there, patterns. So you see, this is the pattern I'm talking about. This one. When you see this one, either this one or this one, right? But this one is more powerful when you see it in that zone, right? And then as soon as, what did I do now? As soon as it breaks that neckline of the pattern, which will be this, I'm entering those bars and pushing up. So it doesn't mean you don't need to spot all these things. You can either spot a change of character or spot those patterns. But like I said, if I see patterns, for me, it's like more cleaner. But doesn't mean I won't trade this. It's just a matter of aligning yourself. How am I going to go about through this? So that's what we're going to talk about this now on risk management. Then I can enter my buy. Then obviously my target will be the highest point. So let's go to this example here. And this is today's example when the market came back into this fair value gap, right? On our 1 minute, what was happening? Look how price came back here onto our zone, right? Look at how price came back. So I'm just gonna narrate it. So this was the break, right? So we broke here. Let me just do this. Can we play it? But this was the break. Okay, no, I know where I can replay it. What date is it today? It's the 14th. I doubt we'll have this data because FX kind of like updates on the when this day ends. So I would say let's do a replay here, but it's fine. Let's consider this part not being there. So this was the break, right? So this was the break. It broke and come. Then now, as we're moving back into our POI, you see what happened? It touched. I had the first touch, second touch, and then third touch. And then this third touch is not really a head and shoulder pattern, but look what it did. It broke this zone here, calling it a change of character. And then what do? We pushed to the upside. Sometimes data like this might not be clear to read. Me, most of the time, if I can read clearly, that's what I used to do as I was starting. I'd wait for proper price action to come. I'd wait for it to come back to the zone with proper clear patterns, which is what it did here. See, when it came back in the zone, boom, 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 boom. Where's the neckline? Neckline was broken here. And look what happened after the neckline is broken. We started, I would have entered DME, my stop loss beneath here. Targeted a 1 is 2 on this trade. I don't know why I didn't trade this. It's because I was busy creating educational content. But nevertheless, I don't cry over spoiled milk or trades that have passed. And look at how beautiful that would have been. right? So here's the thing I always tell people with patterns, guys, né? With patterns, it's not something you master by learning like this. Because especially with patterns and price action, you don't master by learning them like this. You master them by visiting the charts each and every day because they appear in different like format, or sometimes they're huge, they clean properly. You can see them cleanly. Sometimes they just like, what the hell is this? And you need to train your eye to spot those. So I don't know if I can find like also an example. See, for example, this is not a pure eye, but I'm just making an example. You see, for example, this is a clean, like, okay, fine, we're coming down, this, and then change of character, right? Because price is just bold and clean. It's like very beautiful, clean. And then you find, let's say, if we had like a POI here, this is an example. I'm not saying it's day, just trying to show you how let's say this family gap was an entry point. Then you get here, you're like looking for that pattern, but things are just completely packed up, like they're too tight for you to can spot. You get here, but what I can see means this pattern here. Boom. And we could have entered a sell maybe, but I'm not saying this was a selling point. I'm just making an example, right? But this is and sometimes if I always have a trick, I always say if you can't spot them properly, you know what you could do. Let's go back to the example. You know what you could do. What you could do is switch from your bar graph to your line graph. Simple as that. If I delete this drawing, you start seeing patterns. You know what I mean? Do you see it now? Only on that zone. Don't analyze with the line graph, but only on those zones. Because if you look here, for the first entry, we have a shoulder. The reason I say neck and shoulders, guys, this is a terminology for these patterns. Like I said, they have plenty of names. Yo, they're so confusing, but you don't need to like give yourself a headache in learning these things. And a shoulder, and then a shoulder, a head. So then the neckline and you buy. And then here is that W pattern. Look, that W pattern. And then you could have bought here after we broke it. That W pattern. Do you see? Here it is here, the W pattern. You can just get yourself this sheet. And there's plenty of confirmations to go about, you see. They call it the bullish double bottom, inverted bullish head and shoulders. That's what I'm saying. There's plenty of names. I don't really pay attention into knowing these things as long as I know how to use them, right? And then I could have entered this beautiful trade right here. So, like I said, there's plenty of confirmation. These are the confirmations I mainly use. I don't like complicating things. Like, guys, you could go out there, do your research. There's plenty of tools you could utilize, confirmation and stuff like that. But I advise the simpler it is with your trading, the best. Because me, this is what I do daily. Divide my session so that I know which time frame am I looking to trade into. And then look at my higher time frame, look at my lower time frame, and just wait. That's it. So, for example, look, né? I'm just gonna, you can go check this maybe after a day or two after this video is dropped. You see, for example, now we just broke another structure and we're still within our trading zone. This is my higher time frame. You know, since I missed that trade, I might actually look to trade this. And since we broke here, I have my POIs. The first one is this fair value gap. The second one is this fair value gap. What is my job now? If you remember the steps, waiting game. I'm gonna wait for the market to come either here or here. And I'm gonna wait for the confirmations where I see, because it could come here and not give me confirmations. And it could come here and then I get the confirmation now and will trade. Even if I don't get confirmations here, I don't trade anything because the market might just be pulling back down or reversing, right? Or it could just shoot up from here and not come back to my zone. It's fine. I'll just wait to see as long as I'm still within my trading phases, right? Timing, remember timing, the manipulation and the distribution. Once it falls under this reversal phase, I'm not trading anything. It's try for me for the day. I'm gonna look for another setup. So that's how you go about looking for entries, guys. Entries are not as complicated as the rest of the things. But if you want me to break down a longer video, because mind you guys, even on these other previous videos I shot or just recorded for you guys, I'm trying by all means to abbreviate everything, like make it short, because as much as sometimes some things I try to make them short, they need me to elaborate, illustrate, like make it long. That's how I get my students to like understand these things. But sometimes it may be confusing and you might want a broader video. That's where it's important now. You could join our mentorship whereby these things I could spend the whole day with you just breaking down entries. I could spend the whole day with you just breaking down price action, right? Alone without any idea. But here it's just that I'm trying to like cut this thing short so that at least you have some light into it. But yeah, without further ado, this is it when it comes to entries. I only focus on those two type of entries, right? The change of character and the patterns. There's many entries you could look for, like your break and retest, your breaker block, your engulfing candlesticks. It's a list. Like I told you, there's unending information with trading. You just have to choose the simplest ones that you can utilize and just fly with it. For me, it's that, right? So without further ado, I'll see you on the last topic, which is risk management. And hey, that one is like the crucial form. That's why we save the best for last. So I'll see you in the next session. Sharp, sharp.